Welcome to the No BS Spiritual Book Club's live streaming interview series, where leading new thought teachers, speakers, and authors share the intimate stories behind the 10 best spiritual books that inspired them the most on their spiritual journey. From well-known classics to hidden gems you might never have heard of, the No BS Spiritual Book Club saves you time and money by sharing reliable recommendations from those who've walked the path before you. The No BS Spiritual Book Club, the only no BS guide to the best spiritual books to inspire your own journey of self-discovery. Here's your host, founder of the No BS Spiritual Book Club, Sandie Sedgbeer.
Hello and welcome. Joining me today to share the 10 best spiritual books that had a major impact on her life journey is spiritual consultant, soul healer, teacher, writer, and author Eva Marquez. Eva Marquez has appeared on Gaia TV with George Noory, talking about her 5 books, her Pleiadean starseed lineage, and her work with a group of light beings from different star nations, including the Pleiades, helping starseeds to adapt to their physical bodies, activate their dormant cosmic DNA, reconnect with their soul family, and fulfill their missions in supporting humanity's evolution into a multidimensional species while safeguarding the planet for future generations. Eva Marquez, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me here. Thank you.
Now, you said that selecting 10 significant books that shaped who you are actually was a pleasant surprise. What surprised you about it?
It was really beautiful to look at the person I was when I started to read spiritual books and where I am today when I'm teaching and sharing what I have learned from those who started before me. So it was actually a beautiful journey of it. So I'm glad I could have done this.
Now, you've said that you always felt that you were different. I think there are a lot of people who understand that. And especially those that watch this particular program. But those books helped you to make a difference in how you moved through the world and how you saw the world and didn't feel quite so alone.
Definitely. So as everybody out there, I felt different, but I could not understand my different. I thought that my different wasn't really good. And I used to be very afraid of what I feel. What is it that is happening to me? What it is, this energy that I'm feeling and not necessarily seeing. So I was trying to outrun it in any kind of the way until I found these books and started to see like, oh, that is happening to me. And I heard about this and there's not such a mystery. It is beautiful to be different. And then I put myself on this journey of helping the people to understand that being different is the best gift that we can have.
So your first book on your list, is this the first spiritual book that you ever read?
I believe it is. The Opened Channel by Sanaya Roman.
Yes. Published in 1993 and actually book 6 of an Earth Life series. So you read book 6 before you read 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
It just came as it happened. When they says, when you are ready, the teacher will appear, the right book will appear. And that's exactly what happened to me. I just had 2 small children and I finally told myself that I can't be afraid of everything because I do not want to pass this on my kids and I want to learn. And I made a friend in our play group who suddenly we started to talk about the spiritual things and we're both kind of very shy about it. And she says, well, would you read this book and talk about it with me? And I was also at the time trying to connect with my God, what people would say, and it didn't work out for me. So this book was a heaven sent because Sanaya breaks down the process in connecting with the natural energy, with the nature and the plants and the trees, and literally playing with that energy until you jump into a process, literally connecting with the other beings. And what is beautiful in her work is the sharing her own experience. That when she started to channel Orion, she could hold that energy only for I think she says about 3 minutes in the beginning. And that's the common thing with everybody, almost everybody that I know that channel. That beginning of it is like this short passages of the energy when you like grasp on something and it's gone. So it was very realistic and very beautifully written that could be followed and learned when you practice it.
You have said that you had, multidimensional experiences from childhood. What form did they take? Were you seeing or hearing?
So I would be seeing in my dreams, I would be meditating within my dreams and traveling through the universe, literally through my dreams, through these pictures of the mandalas. And I would also feel the spirit, especially of the deceased people beside me and wanting to communicate with me. So I did not see them with my eyes, but I would feel them as a presence when you know that somebody's standing beside you or behind you, and then you look and there's nobody there. Those things would be happening to me.
Yeah. So once you read that book, did you understand? I mean, before that, did you think there was something odd about you? And then you began to understand that you actually weren't from this planet.
Well, that's how it all started when my guide, and I didn't even knew about this concept before that. I just thought I'm gonna connect with some guide, maybe, with my grandfather or somebody who would talk from the other side. And one day I was washing the dishes, and the water, by the way, is the best conductor for the, connecting with the energies for all those that may have been scared or nervous about it. And I heard this voice beside me. And I honestly heard the voice only very few times in my life. So that's very rare. Who says, "Can you?" And I was like, oh my God, that's what everybody talks about. That must be my guide. And I was very happy and joyful. And then he said, Pleiades. I had no idea what Pleiades is. So I go, and I don't think we had a Google back then yet. So I search on the internet and the constellation comes up, and that's how it all started. I just break out into the tears. And it was like, you look at the picture of your home and and you cannot explain what is it happening to you. And everything started from that point on.
Let's talk about the second book, which is very relevant to your story. And it was written by the noted astrologer and spiritual teacher. The book is The Pleiadean Agenda, A New Cosmology for the Age of Light by Barbara Ann Clow, published in 1995. Do you recall when and where you were when this book came into your possession?
Well, the story is really interesting. It was about 2 years ago only when this book literally came to me, and it's a very well read over all the time with lots of notes. I was walking in the used bookstore that I like to go here in the Charleston. And that was that day when I was like, no, I'm just gonna look. And today I'm not gonna buy anything because we all have so many books at home. And the book literally I passed and it jumped off the shelf. And I look at it and I was like, I read Barbara Ann Clow's The Mayan Code before, which I really like. And that was probably about a year before I wanted to email her right away. I was like, this is not for 2012. This is for all of us after as well. Like, this information is so relevant and so good. It's like, that's even for the future generations. So much of great information. And so when this book jumped out of the shell, I was like, okay, I'm going to take you home with me. I need you. That book is helped me. So I learned to understand myself over those years, but starting to read about really Barbara's story that her higher self lives in the Alkion. I was like, oh my God, there's somebody else like me. With all that stuff and reading about the Pleiadian goddesses and everything in that book, it was like reading the truth, like memory that are so hidden inside and perhaps were a little afraid to fully come out, started to coming out. And as with every book, your life changed over and over and over. So it has been phenomenal. And what I tell people, the Barbara's book has this incredible energy inside. It's like this living energy, which every true teacher, I believe, put into their books. So I put my manifesting notes, that is sticky notes, into the book, and they did came true. So it's a perfect book for the manifesting, not only for the learning as well.
Have you told Barbara that?
No, I have to tell her that one year.
Yeah, you should tell her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Book number 3 is The Children of the Law of One and the Lost Teachings of Atlantis by John Peniel. And he was apparently mentioned in the Edgar Cayce readings as someone who would one day bring an important message to the world. This particular book was published in 1997. So tell us how you came across this book and the impact it had on you.
I honestly don't even remember how I came upon it. I think a friend of mine just sent me a PDF file, like electronic form of the book. And of course, the Atlantis was very fascinating. And so I started to read the book, but it's not really the stories of the Atlantis, it's the teaching of those who survive and who live in these little pockets. And I do believe they still, are somewhere out there. And the beauty of it is that it brings you to this point that we all have a choices. The John Peniel shared his story up there as a young man who was ready to literally commit to suicide, who was just done with life, and there's nothing good out of it, feeling so different, feeling that he didn't fit, feeling like, what I'm gonna do here. And suddenly he started watching the TV, and there comes the channel that could not have existed at that time. And a person dressed in the Essene kind of the robe talks to him about this monastery in the Tibet. Now, I read it on very early on my journey, so I was sponging everything in. Of course, when you are a newbie and you get to this book, you want to go to the Tibet, you want to be in the monastery. And he really beautifully explained in the books, like, you don't have to search for that, you don't have to go there, like, there is everything what you need. And basically, the core of that teaching is to be unselfish, to find the unconditional, unselfish love within us, to let go of the dependency and the blame of everybody who ruin our life. And I had a very bad victimhood kind of the pattern within me. So that really helped me. And I was thinking, like, wow, I would love to be a teacher. And then he speaks the word, the true teacher. I think that's for the first time I heard that in my life. And I was like, I want to be that. I want to share the knowledge. I want to create a way of life that is so inspiring to anybody out there.
Interesting about this book, when I was looking it up, it said it was the inspiration, for the Legend of ShangriLa. And although it might be categorized as a New Age or philosophy book, like the Celestine Prophecy, it focuses on his spiritual training and their teachings in a novel-like format. And later on, people did some research and they found the region amongst the subtropical region amongst the Himalayas that he describes finding. And it was later documented by explorers from National Geographic. And this evidence exists. So, it wasn't a novel. It was an actual experience that he wrote almost as a novel.
Yes. And I do believe so that is absolutely true. And I believe he mentioned that in the beginning, because as I was looking at my 10 books, I refreshed myself on some of them because it's been a while that I, read this one. And it was too beautiful to look at it again. And he mentioned that up there, that he just will write it in this fiction story so we can all be part of it. And I think that is a true beauty of true teachers out there who really take the teaching and they don't strive only to write in the, very theory-oriented book or the practice book, but start putting the stories, because through the story we start feeling and living, and we see ourselves in that position. You can see yourself easily as Peniel or anybody else that in that story at the different times. And I think it helps in the teaching and helps the soul to be enticing, excited more and happy in that earthly life and practice what they are literally sharing. And if I can add one more thing to it, what really stunned me, and I didn't know that, 2 years when I read it, there's this exercise about the polarity where you're lying to the south for the 5 minutes and then to the head to the north for the 5 minutes. It is exactly the same exercise that is actually described in the green by the master taught in the Emerald books. The
Emerald tablets, yeah.
Emerald tablets, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, here is the connection, which we know he speaks about the master taught, and I think we all can agree that the master taught and those around him have been survivors of the Atlantis.
Mm. So book number 4 was a self-published book that became a publishing sensation when it sold 50,000 copies just by word of mouth. So all of you aspiring authors, it can be done. The book is a beautiful book. I really enjoyed this book. It is Anna, Grandmother of Jesus, A Message of Wisdom by Claire Hartsong, and it was published in 2002.
That book, whoever feels close to the Essenes, that is gold. I think that is, I read several channel books for the Jesus Christ and the journey and so much on. This one is still on the top of the list. And the other ones are phenomenal as well. But once you read about Anna and you welcome Anna in your life, Anna stays with you and Anna walks with you on a journey. And there's just so much in that book that if you read it again and again and you start putting the bits and the pieces together, she gives Letaria teaching and the secrets through the Claire Hartsong up there. There's like the whole big story. I probably can talk for several hours about this book, so I'm gonna make it really short. But I want to point out, we all know the story of the Christ and the Mary Magdalene and so much on. But the Anna describes in the book that she lived in the body for more than one lifespan.
Yes.
And that is fascinating. That really brings that belief, which goes only a little bit over 2,000 years back, that immortality is real, that we do have a ways to rejuvenate the bodies. And that really sparked my interest alongside, with the story and reconnecting with the Magdalena and the Order of the Rose and everything that comes out of it. That is something when I started to ask, how did you do that? What is the secret? And for the years, my guides would say, well, why do you want to know that? Why it's so important to you? And I really never had a good answer for it, because there's no really a reason necessary to stay in the one body for such a long time. The reason is to be healthy and have a quality of the life and share the teaching that we learn with the others. That, to me, that would be the good reason. But later on, I started, to learn about the Taoism, especially Taoism and Immortal sisters, which we're going to talk a little bit later. And there's just so much of connection. So the Claire Hartsong doesn't speak about, the Taoistic teaching and cellular rejuvenation, all in the details. But if Anna have done that, that means that she followed all those teachings before her. It wasn't that she just walked into the body of a woman who was about to die through the giving the birth and remembering everything. She went on about probably a little bit over 40 years of learning, remembering, practicing until she was about, I believe, 64 in the book, when she described her first rejuvenation, which I think is very exciting, because as we get older, not that I should complain, but as I'm coming to the 50s, we go like, kids are big, what is that ahead of us? There's a whole life of the Anna ahead of us, where we can suddenly have a time to explore this and practice it and keep healthy as possible.
Well, yeah, I mean, the information is supposedly, it's out there and has been out there for a long time. I mean, you look at the books like The 5 Tibetans, and the mysteries of some of the lamas. They supposedly live for very, very long time. Yeah. So book number 5, this is a classic account of the Western esoteric path of initiation. It's called How to Know Higher Worlds, a Modern Path of Initiation by Rudolf Steiner, and it was published in 1904.
1904, like those books are just gold. Those are like golden nuggets that you find. I was scrolling the Amazon and there it was. Now, when my son was younger, I have used a Waldorf curriculum, Waldorf education, which was written by the Rudolf Steiner to educate him. And at that time, I wasn't really, I guess, aware of it, that he writes all these spiritual books as well. And one day I came across the book Atlantis. And when this one came out, I was like, let me look at it. It is a beautiful, actually quite a small book. I have it somewhere here that, get my notes out, a very small book, not a thick one that, it's all highlighted with the yellows. The books that I intend to keep, they have a lot of highlights inside. That describes the teaching, literally the path of the initiation that we can do in our home. There's something beautiful that Steiner say. He says, you may want to be a writer, or you may want to do something that maybe the life situation, the family, economics doesn't allow you to do. But if you want to pursue spiritual journey, there's nothing that can stop you. It doesn't matter if you are rich or poor, or healthy or sick. Every single one can do that. And that really spoke to me. And so I started to looking at this teaching, just applying in my life. And it all literally connect about to be honest, to speak the truth, to not speak too much and more listen, be observer, to work on that inequalities of our heart, of our mind, and of our stomach. Now, there's something fascinating that he speaks about these lotuses that we develop within the body. And one is in our throat, one is in our heart, and one is in our stomach. And then we go stomach, really, and it goes like on the bottom of the pit is this lotus. And, you have to have this and these qualities and practice them in your life. Once you start connecting with the other teaching, so the stomach goes with our ability, with our third chakra. And there's the sense of the sight and the feeling. We have to have 5 basic senses. The sense of the sight and the feeling goes with the third chakra. So usually it's that empathy that opened to us, and we get oversensitive and we want to shield ourselves from everything. There's a negative family around of us. We all went through it, every single one of us, I believe, through that stage, until it says, let me just see what it is. Because if I start understand these feelings, and that is with the development of your stomach area of the third chakra, I will be able to see with my third eye. And I will be able to activate these abilities, which he says are within us. Now, many of his teaching, literally, is very similar to the Hermetic teaching. For those who read the Kybalion, there's a lot of similarities. So again, these people are studying very same or the similar kind of the teaching that then they translate or present the word in the way that we can understand and we can connect to. And then there's this another beautiful way when he describes that we can start ourselves training through the dreams once we have this, the heart-centered qualities, and when we, stop hating the people and judging the people and blaming for everything that happened to us, when we become our own self and the control of our thoughts and the feelings, we started to have these dreams, which are commonly known as the lucid dreams. And in these lucid dreams, we can actually practice our ability and shift our reality. And that 100% works, and it transcends in your life, and suddenly you become very different, and you can start creating, be true creator of your life, instead of just be the victim of whatever is happening to me.
Yeah. Rudolf Steiner, I've read some of his books. Fascinating man. Fascinating. Way before his time. Well, we're going to take a short break now. You're listening to the No BS Spiritual Book Club's 10 Best Spiritual Books weekly interview series, and sharing the 10 books, the 10 best books that influenced her life journey is spiritual consultant, soul healer, teacher, writer, and author Eva Marquez. We'll be back with more of Eva's 10 Best Spiritual Books list after this break.
Om Times TV.
Maya Angelou once said that there is no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside you. I'm Sandie Sedgbeer, And when I'm not hosting Times Media's flagship radio show, What Is Going On, and the No BS Spiritual Book Club, I help people share their untold stories. Books are my life, my joy and my passion, and there is no greater reward than helping aspiring writers get their books out of their heads and into the hands of those who are waiting to read them. If you feel that you have a book in you but don't know where to begin, visit Sedgbeer.com, click on the Work With Me tab and find out how my experience helping others tell their stories might be just what you've been looking for. That's Sedgbeer.com, SEDGBEER.com.
Imagine becoming a super influencer. Reinvent yourself, invest in your brand, and then manifest your success with a robust spheric approach. Times Media and Broadcasting offers a unique and multifaceted way to become the spiritual and conscious influencer you deserve to be by putting your message across our powerful platform with its proven record of integrity and excellence. Through our produced shows, Times offers the opportunity to become a social media TV personality, a radio show host, an Times magazine columnist, and a syndicated podcaster, all in one shot. By live streaming your show on Times TV and broadcasting it across the extensive Times radio and TV networks, you become more than a host. You become an ambassador and a force for positive change. Times. Open yourself to the possibilities.
There are 16 million children struggling with hunger in America. That's 1 in 5 daughters, sons, neighbors, and classmates who don't know where their next meal is coming from. Yet billions of pounds of good food go to waste every year. It's time we do something about it. Feeding America is a nationwide network of food banks that helps provide meals to millions of kids and families in need. Visit feedingamerica.org to help them feed even more. Together, we can solve hunger. Together, we're feeding America.
Welcome back. Eva Marquez, book number 6 is Energy Medicine, Balancing Your Body's Energies for Optimal Health, Joy and Vitality by Donna Eden. This is also considered a classic by many. This was published in 1998.
That is the classic, and I think that book should be just given the golden medal. I have used this book so many times and referred so many people to it. That book literally saved my life and changed my life. I had a Lyme disease, and I bought this book probably a few months before I became ill. My guide, the Kenyan that we started to talk, would say, "You are the healer." I was like, no, I can probably channel, but healer, not at all. And I would not really pay attention much to it. And then I became severely ill with the Lyme disease. For those who ever had Lyme disease, you understand what I talk about. Your body is shot. You can't. It's like everything that you did one day, you have no energy, you have no willpower, you have no... It's hard to be in the body. So I remember the book, and I would literally pick the routine by the routine and routine, and I would force myself to do that, to do the 5-minute energy routine, to trace my meridians, to work with my triple warmer, which is the immunity system, to read the book in a very slow way because my brain didn't want it to work. After 6 months, I started to feel energy and actually be able to do the things more and more. And in a year, I was healed. Until today, I kind of look at it, and I did not follow a healthy diet. Like, I ate healthy, but it wasn't just particular this and this and this, what I look, what people do today, or some extra supplements. I have taken the antibiotics, and the rest was the book, and just literally connecting with my body, working with my body, working with the acupressure points. And most of all, what is beautiful, what Donna have done with her book, she guides you through these exercises and then teach you, like, here's your way of the emotion. This is what you need to change as well. It is not only that you touch here and there. You connect to your emotions. You connect to that emotional body, and you change. So it was one thing that led to the other. And that book is probably the best self-help book that anybody can find.
I think there are many who agree with you. Yeah, it does get mentioned on the No BS Spiritual Book Club lists, several guests that mentioned it. So book number 7, this sounds fascinating. Immortal Sisters, Secret of Taoist Women, translated and edited by Thomas Cleary, published in 1989. So tell us about this book, which also goes into rejuvenation, longevity, and immortality as well.
Absolutely. So it's a very tiny book. I want people to show that sometimes, the best things are written in a very tiny, tiny volume. So Donna Eden literally got me on this journey to study about the energy healing to learn and so much on. And over the years, I befriended a few acupuncture doctor friends who would teach me. And the one is in Germany, Isabel. And she says, well, I think you're going to like to read this book, because she was the one who introduced me to Taoism. And I was lucky to find the Thomas Cleary translation, because the man practiced the Taoism for the many years, and the Chen Buddhism. So when he translated the books, and he translated several of them, he would add his commentary, and he would translate it from the man who has a knowledge, because there's a lot of words that are written in the code, as all the ancient knowledge sometimes is written in a code. So here is the fascinating story of this 6 women who are sharing the poetry about how the immortality may probably, how the rejuvenation may be done. Like, they put it up there, but you have to learn a little bit more to understand it. But what I found fascinating, there's a description of this woman from the 3rd century after the counting to the 12th century after the counting. So here we don't talk about the time before Christ and this mystical time. We're talking actually the time after the Christ. When we go to this Asia, and there are these women who find and practice this immortality. What they really practice is inner alchemy, or what we in the Taoism call the Neigong, the practice of rejuvenation of our inner organs and energy. And naturally, it's not only the energy of the organs, it's understand our emotions and the feelings, and how we can transmute them from the one thing to the other, because energy never goes away. So here are these stories of these women who have lived the life of the immortals, who by the end of their life tune into the smoke or the wind and ascended somewhere to the heaven, or anywhere we want to call it. The common thing, what you find in this writing, is that the reason why these women have been immortal and worked toward that kind of the status was to carry on the charity. They were very charitable women. They were the women who were in the service, who were helping their parents or their community, who brought the herbs and the healing to the sick. And that was the reason to be like that. There's also a beautiful connection, which I have made, and maybe somebody else will not see that, between the Immortal Sisters and Barbara Ann Klobuk, the Pleiadian agenda, when she read about these Pleiadian goddesses and how the feminine energy, how to say it in English, was the dominant energy, or the energy that would be literally teaching and leading the way. And the same happened with this woman. And in this book, it says that it is easier for the females to obtain Tao than for the males, because the males, saturated more in that ego mind energy, are looking more toward the alchemy and understand everything and how we can utilize it all. But the females are more looking at how do we heal, how do we help, how do we serve. Of course, there's an all merge between the both of us today, where we are learning to harmonize both of these energies, so we will not discriminate, because there are many males like Thomas Cleary, who I do believe attained Tao and made this beautiful contribution to our English libraries for us who absolutely could not speak Chinese or the ancient Chinese.
Does the book actually contain instructions, exercises, a roadmap that one can follow?
It does, but I would say, I would personally not understand them if I would not follow my teacher. So I have a teacher, the Master Wu, who I practice the Tao about every Saturday. And by practicing and learning the linguistics, I would say, you will start understand what they talk about. Because they may talk about the marriage of the tigress and the dragon, and this beautiful loving experience, and we with a romantic mind might think about, oh, there must be the twin flame, the male and the female have to find that kind of the person within me. And what they really speak is about the soul mind consciousness within us, that twin flame within us, that dragon and the tiger energy within us, where the tiger stands for the soul and the dragon stands for the mind. And so reading the other books and then coming back to this book, there is a manual. There definitely is a manual that speaks about transmuting the vastness into the energy, and energy into the blood, and blood into the matter, which literally describe the incarnations within this body. And, then how we materialize and how we are born. Well, if it happened this way, then naturally we can reverse it. We can shift the matter into the blood into the energy, and the energy into the vastness, be one within the energy. And these women have clearly done it the way how it is described up there. And the one who has the most poems inside is the Sedgbeer, and she's I'm not sure if I pronounce it correctly, but she's one of the famous 7 immortals in this, the Chinese mythology. And so once you again start connecting the stories together, you will see in a very tiny book a manual on rejuvenation. And there's no secret pill that you will take. It's all the inner alchemy work.
It's all, yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
I wish I can tell you that there's like this herbal tea that we're going to make and we're going to share it behind the scenes.
Yeah. So book number 8 is Letting Go, The Path to Surrender by David Hawkins, published in 2012.
Wow. I read his other books, but this one spoke the most to me because it literally described the manual how to work with the mind. I would say anybody who is going through the changes and within their life should read this book. Anybody who consult, coach people should read this book and use this book in their everyday work. So what David Hawkins have done, he literally mapped the consciousness from the shame, which vibrate on the lowest part of it, to that enlightenment, bliss, enlightenment, which is the highest one. What helped me to understand through this book that we cannot go literally from the shame to the enlightenment in one day. That there are the steps to take in between. And so as many of us, I have a very printed little table that he writes about this, in his book, and my old one has been like very, very used, so I printed a new one. And I see it as a ladder, sort of, as a ladder of the steps that we are going to take. That there are the steps in between. When we're going through this shame, we're going through this guilt, we have to find get angry about it to get somewhere else. If we are having an apathy or the depression, we cannot get stuck if I can't do it, I won't do it, and so much on. There are these next steps to take and push ourselves to see that we have a choices about our consciousness. Mm-hmm. So he doesn't get stuck in, I'm feeling this way and that way. He really connects to that mind part of the way, and how we can attune it like this radio wave until we come to this feeling of brave and the willingness. And that was a breakthrough for me because, every single one of us have a bad day, and we listen to some music or listen to something inspiring or read, look at some book and have this moment like, oh my God, yes, I can do it. We overexcite ourselves and we spend our energy on that overexcitement. And in the 2 hours, it's like you have too much of coffee, you have a crash, and then you are back in your depression and your apathy and feeling like bad as you felt bad before, maybe even a little bit worse. And by following his work and stabilizing ourselves in this energy of the neutrality and the willingness, we will stop avoiding that overexcitement, overhype of what we want to be. And we can take easy steps one at a time and get to that energy of love, get to that energy of happiness, get to that energy of the bliss and enlightenment. And I think that, again, his work is beautiful, and he shared many of his personal stories, and he answered a lot of questions in every single of his book. And I think it's a phenomenal work.
Book number 9, The Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu, written around 400 BC or thereabouts. Probably the oldest book, I would imagine, that we've ever had, to talk about on the show.
Well, that is beautiful. That makes me very, very happy. One of the things to know about the Lao Tzu and the Yellow Emperor, which are both very known as, let's say, the founders or the grandfathers of the Taoism, is that they had a female teacher. And I think, again, that leads to this Pleiadean goddesses and the Immortal sisters, and literally that teaching goes all the way down to the Mary Magdala and Anna and so much on, that the female carries the wisdom and knowledge. And the male energy brings it into physicality. I would say that is just this basic formula how this universe works. It doesn't mean that we as a female cannot be a very successful writers. We can, for all of those girls up there. But the beauty of it, that the Lao Tzu literary bring these poems that are timeless, and that literally speak about doing while not doing, about feeling your glass half full than overfilling it. That is just beautiful. It came to me at a time when I was going through a lot of turmoil in my life. And somebody says, just get the book, find a poem, and just read a poem a day and just sit with it. And when we want to go like, I want to solve my problems. Where's the Dr. Hopkins books? And I was like, no, go through this one. Just sit with it. And one poem at a time. There's something beautiful when we slow down. And I think that's what Tao Te Ching also help us. When we take that step back and we slow down, we started to look at this, the ancient wisdom that is timeless. Now, Dr. Wayne Dyer had done a phenomenal job with the Tao Te Ching. He took actually the whole year to study the book and then write the book about it and teach about it. And this is just something that anybody can embrace. And I would say the message today that Tao Te Ching bring us is that each of us can create a way of life that is good for us and that is inspiring to the others. It's so profound, yet it's so simple, because we all want to leave that mark here, when we leave, like we left something that changed this world. Perhaps just by feeding the homeless, making the dinner for my children and their friends is a way of life that make a really big impact on their life. Saying that kind word to somebody, holding the door for somebody, those old-fashioned, the qualities that sometimes we forget. That is the way of life that I believe that Lao Tzu will be proud of us, that we are practicing.
Well, talking about life, the last book on your list is another one that comes up fairly often, The Game of Life and How to Play It, by artist, book illustrator, and highly influential New Thought spiritual teacher, Florence Scovel Shinn. And this was published in 1925, almost 100 years ago.
I would have dreams when my guides would talk to me about the game of life, that the life is game of life. I was like, that sounds really good. I actually wrote about it a little bit in my book, in the Pleiadean Code 1. And I never thought that anybody else talk about the game of life. I thought I got something so profound that, we all wanted to feel it special on our journey in the beginning. And then I heard the Mayans talk about the game of life, and then I came across the book of Florence Shinn. I actually first find the material of the Neville Goddard, but whoever listen and follow the material of the Neville Goddard will put one and one together, and you must definitely study the Florence Shinn material. Beautiful work of the both of them. And it's just phenomenal that in the 1920s, a female letter would be giving these readings and telling you, yep, just believe. Even if it didn't manifest it yet, change your belief and it will manifest and it will happen. And so she spoke this word of the God, right? Or to the God, to the universe, that everything has to be with the harmony with the universe. And that things will manifest, it will happen. And she teach the people believe in themselves. There's the one fun story when she speaks about her students who bought, I think it was the rabbit claw, and who literally prayed to the rabbit claw. And first, everything worked for them. And suddenly everything started to go wrong. And she says, well, what is it that you are doing different? Well, nothing. We have just this rabbit claw, like, good luck charm. And she says, do you want to tell me that you exchange the God and the universe for the rabbit claw? No, there you see why things are not working. So it's like, open that mind to the vastness. And she again brings everything into physical perspective and live a really good quality of life. One of my favorite things from her book is the square of life. The love, health, abundance, and the perfect expression, our beautiful communication, create a perfect happiness, which is the square of life. And that's literally the simplest thing of what we need. And if we have that, it's like the foundation to our house and to everything that we want to accomplish in this life. So it's not necessary all this, the highest knowledge. This is the foundation. And on this foundation, we can gain our highest knowledge and be who we want to be. But it is literally having love, a happiness, and healthy body. And learning to ourselves to express with the honesty, integrity, the goodness, and be bold to say what we want and pray for it, to go for it, will make us happy.
Yeah. So that's your 10 best books. If you could have dinner with any one of those authors, which one would you choose?
That's a hard one.
It is a hard one.
It's between the Lao Tzu and the Florence Shin.
Yeah. Well, you can only have one. So who's it going to be?
It will be the Florence Shin.
Florence Shin.
To literally learn how to learn from her. Yeah.
And no language problem.
Yes, that's the one thing that I was thinking, like, because obviously the English is my second language. So my first thing, like, who's going to translate for me? With Florence Shin, I can actually have a beautiful conversation.
Yeah. So you've written 5 books: Activate Your Cosmic DNA, Discover Your Starseed Family, the Pleiades, Sirius, Andromeda, Centaurus, Epsilon, Eridani, never heard of that one, and Lyra. You've also written a book on soul cleansing and energetic protection. What's the inspiration for your books? Is it that your guides tell you that you should be writing a particular, book? Or does it just occur to you, or does somebody ask you a question and then you write the book?
So my first book and the last one to publish here was the Activate Your Cosmic DNA. And I always wanted to write. Back in the Czech as a child, wanted to write. When I came here, I wanted to write, but there was a huge, the English language barrier for me, and didn't know really what I want to write about. Then I started to give readings to people about, because it sort of came one thing after the other, that I connected to my guides and to their guides, and this information about the past life in the universe started to streaming in. And so I started to collect notes, because I realized that there's such a similarity between Pleiadian starseeds and Lyran starseeds, and, for example, Andromedian starseeds, that I can write about, and I can just, it started with this, I would give people the files. I was like, this is your family, this is your family, this is your family. There's so much of similarity. It became very, very fascinating kind of the work. So it comes in the reading, and there comes this guidance from my guide and part of my past life memories, and I weave it all together. So I thought, if I can share this, there was this point when the guide says, if you want to change the life, write. Because I would ask, how do I change my life? How do I create a more abundance in my life? How I'm going to make it? And this is, well, write. And I was like, it sounds very easy. It's hard done. And I started to write, and that was the best thing that happened to me. So it comes from the sessions, it comes as a guidance from them. And one thing what I do in my writing, I always think, if I'm here another lifetimes, which may happen, because I know a lot of people are going for ascension, I do want to come at least one more time, because I think I enjoy my life here. And to be the teacher, of course, definitely not with all those confused memories. If I find a book of that Eva Marquez, I'm gonna search like, the woman knew what she talks about. I'm gonna fix myself and start my journey much faster. So
yeah, that's an interesting premise, to find a book that was actually written by yourself a long time ago. Do you, when you're working with people, how are you recognizing where they come from? Is it something in their field? What are you tuning into?
So I tune into the soul mind consciousness. So I do all my sessions literally via Zoom today. COVID changed a lot of things for many of us. I would say even for better, not really for the worst. And so when I talk to people, I can feel their soul mind consciousness. I can feel their energy, and there's this particular energy imprint. And then I ask a few questions, because there are, the similarity between the star nations, and that usually confirm my feelings of it. Now people do a lot of astrology. I'm not a trained astrologer whatsoever. And what we find interesting, that what I feel often fits with the astrological chart. So it's interesting kind of the thing. And when it just helps you to understand yourself. That's the whole purpose of knowing.
So what do your guides tell you about why somebody from another star system would come to Earth for an incarnation? Why would we do that?
We do that to help the humanity to evolve, because our soul consciousness, whenever we came from the stars, or we were starting here on the earth from the animal life evolving, come from the same wave, same, let's say, the light, the oneness, God source, creator, whichever way we want to call it. And so we eventually all gonna go to that place. And the earth is quite young place, yes, and the earth beings are evolving, and we are on the, I says we, because whenever we are star beings or the earth beings, we all are in this human body, and this human's body is evolving to become a multidimensional species. One day we will colonize the other planets, as our ancestors have done before us. Hopefully we're gonna do it with a honesty and integrity and the love in our heart. And to going back to answer your question, I sometimes get a little distracted and excited. We come here to help the humanity evolve, to literally evolve our senses naturally. We can evolve through the artificial intelligence and putting all kind of the gadgets inside of us, which may not turn out the best possible way. But if we really connect that our body has a capability to evolve, to be more heart-centered, to be extremely smart, to rejuvenate and stay in the body for the longer than 100 years in a very healthy body. That is what we came here to teach the people. And I think we are very excited about our journey. And then, once we are living the reality of it, we get a little distracted of it. And then we find ourselves again and continue on our journeys.
If we are eternal, which many think we are, then is it not possible that we've actually spent many lifetimes, on all of those star systems? Why? And if that's true, then why is it that we kind of relate to one in particular? Is it because it's the most recent?
That's a very good question. So we did have same like here on the earth, many of us have plenty of this incarnation in the different constellations and planets. And there's a different kind of the life. And then we remember this one before we come on the earth, which I truly believe was our last incarnation. Many of us didn't come here as a incarnated beings. We came here as the extraterrestrial beings, as some calls the ancient aliens, in the Lemuria and Atlantis. So literally we came here within the body and got really excited about the earth and got a little bit lost on the earth, tweak our body a little bit more and got lost a little bit more. And when we come back there, we come back here to help in the evolution. So we remember generally our last place where we lived on.
Many people say that Earth is the most beautiful place in the universe, and that to come to Earth is considered to be, quite a privilege. Would you agree with that?
If you ask me about 10 to 15 years ago, I would say like, oh my God. Now I agree. I think the earth is the most beautiful and pristine place. It may possibly be one of the last of the very organic, natural, biological place that is here within this universe. And when we start remembering of who we are, where we came from, and why we are here, the materialistic things sort of fade away, and the enjoying the oceans, the waters, the trees, the forest, the nature becomes such a treasure, such a beauty, such something that we look at the people and says, why you cannot appreciate it? So it is precious. What I have also learned from the Pleiadians, and I do not have a research proof for this one, is that Earth is a pharmacy. We always think of these other places up there as a pharmacy, that we bring the healing from. And they says, you don't understand. It says the Earth has this beautiful quality where we like to come here. That when you have an illness or something's happening, to the body, the Earth right away create the antidotes. Now, we do not know how to use it yet or how to retrieve that kind of the energies, but it is something that the Earth can create. And they literally let me to look at the stories of the HIV. That we first, it was a deadly disease. Then, it was passed from the generation, through the birth to the babies. And eventually, after a few generations, we have a babies who are born immune. The body evolved. The earth, literally nature of the human body, has through some innate energy taught that body to activate the immunity towards something that other people die from. And that is the work of the pharmacy. Of course, we have herbs and, all kind of the remedies that we have forgotten over the times. But that is precious to all these beings as well. So we do see sometimes, and lately we see the more people with mysterious illnesses and so much on. And it makes me wonder, if there will be literally soul families, extraterrestrial families, is like, we need help. How do we heal this and that? So there's I think the ones we learn to work with the harmony one with another, there will be this quantum speed of the understanding and preserving the earth for as long as we possibly can.
Well, we're almost out of time, but I've got two questions to ask you. One is, it's been said that Earth is the only planet of choice. Is that true?
I don't know. I know that here we have a choice. That I'm 100% sure about. If it is the only planet of the choice, I cannot say that. I actually never talk about it. I know we have a choices in the Pleiades or the Sirius or Andromeda, so I would say we do have a choices on the other planets as well. Well, within the body, we have an organ, which is the gallbladder. According to Chinese medicine, the gallbladder holds the energy of the choices. I'm very convinced that in another planet where we do have a physical mass body, extraterrestrial body, may look green or the blue or the silver or whatever other color, we do have organs. And I do think that several organs, or if not all organs that we have within this body, are mirrored into those bodies up there. So if we have a gallbladder in those planets, which we probably all can channel about, we do have a choices. That's a logical explanation, the best I can give you.
The other question, it's been said too that this is the only planet where we we are individual as opposed to having a collective consciousness. I mean, yes, we have a collective consciousness, but we're not really aware of it by and large. Is that true?
I agree to that.
This is the only place that you can be an individual?
It feels right to me. I cannot say that I 100% know this one either. So the other extraterrestrials that I connect with, they do have a collective consciousness. So the Earth is, from what I can compare from I know from there, and the here is the one with a separate consciousness, when we can have a choice, when we can literally choose to have a really bad life or a really good life. And it sounds really weird that when we say it's like now the choice, but by the choice we can change it. So I can agree to what you say. And it's interesting you asked me the questions I actually never talked about before.
Well, maybe if you get any more information about them, let me know.
I will. I definitely will.
Eva Marquez, thank you so much for adding your 10 best list to the No BS Spiritual Book Club's library of recommendations.
Oh, thank you so much, Sandie, and all your team. It has been such a pleasure to do this, and thank you for all what you are doing.
Thank you for being here. So for more information about Eva Marquez, her books, her courses, energy healing and coaching sessions, and other events, visit her website, which is evamarquez.com.
That's all I do.
Okay, that's it for this week. I'm Sandie Sedgbeer. If you've enjoyed this show and you would like to see other interviews in this series, go to the No BS Spiritual Book Club. .com, where you can find them all there on our video page, and sign up for our newsletter, and you can receive up-to-date information about each guest that's coming up in the future. That's it for this week. I'll be back at the same time next week. Until then, it's goodbye from me, and thank you again, Eva Marquez.
Thank you so much. Thank you.